What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today we're pretty much talking about the wildcard. I'm going to be honest, right? I've not yet hit the button at the time of recording this, but I have made 9 transfers. So I'm not going to take over 30 points worth of hits. I'm either going to activate the free hit or the wildcard today, and it's almost certainly going to be the wildcard at this point. I'm not happy with the team that the free hit would leave me, which I'll talk about in just a second. So I'm pretty much wildcarding. I've built a team. I'm going to show you that today. I want to make this one kind of short and snappy so I can get it out before the deadline. So if you enjoy it, give it a like, hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. Okay, so if I was to free hit, right, I've done my video yesterday on which team I would go for if I was free hitting, right? I don't think that has really changed this morning. There's a few changes I could have made, right, like Rashford to Lacazette or something like that, but I'm not going to worry too much about the free hit team because I know what I would do if I hit the button. The problem is if I free hit, I'm left with this squad. Right, now ignore the money difference, right? This is because I've rebuilt this squad after making transfers. I obviously would be able to afford it because the free hit would reset everything. So some of the issues with this team are, I've got Robertson and Salah, which is not a huge issue, but I've got no Man City players. So I would want at least two Man City players, De Bruyne and one defender. Now, I could do that with an 8-point hit in Gameweek 19. And to be honest, I might take an 8-point hit anyway, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I'm also left with Calvert-Lewin, who might not be fit, right? He's got a hamstring injury. Ancelotti kind of played down how bad it was, but hamstring injuries are one of those things where they can just keep going and going. And also the deadline for 19 is quite close to when Game Week 18 finishes. So there's no guarantee I'll get definite news on that. So Calvert-Lewin's a worry. I've got Martinez and Grealish. Now, I actually might still have those players by Game Week 19. But there is a risk the first game against Everton potentially could not be on. We might find that out before the deadline, in which case I wouldn't want Grealish as well. And then I've got other players. The other players aren't too bad, but for a bench boost team, it's not ideal. And it also means using my free hit and then guaranteeing a -8 to only get 2 Man City players, whereas I can get 3 if I wildcard, plus I can fix the rest of the team and have a pretty good Game Week 18 squad. So that's the reason I probably won't free hit, because I'm guaranteeing a -8, and then I feel like I'm playing a little bit of catch up for the next few weeks. But of course, I would have my wildcard for Game Week 26, right? So potentially it's not the end of the world to still free hit, but I'm probably not going to do it, right? So this is the wildcard team, if I just bring it up here. So I'm sure people are going to hate it, right? But let's talk through it. Let's get the elephant out of the room, or let's talk about the elephant in the room first. Chris Wood. I get it. Chris Wood, not a great pick. Chris Wood, bad Game Week 18 fixture. Chris Wood, poor Game Week 19, double Game Week, right? I fully get that. And leave a comment below to let me know a replacement, right? And don't tell me Antonio is the replacement, because Antonio is coming in anyway, okay? Which I'll talk about in just a second. So the problem with not going for Chris Wood is there's not really a good way to have a good player for 18 and 19. At the end of the day, he's going to play 3 times in the next 2 game weeks, right? So that's 6 points straight away over the next 2. And if you can get any kind of return, any kind of goal, bonus points or anything over those 2 game weeks, then I'm kind of laughing. And ultimately, what you have to remember with this squad is it's a bench boost squad. So players like Chris Wood aren't in my long-term plans. If I play 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 and just upgrade him, like eventually, obviously, the idea would be to take some money out of this team. So Chris Wood is in. I know people don't like him. I don't particularly rate him either as an option, but he is someone that over the last 3 seasons scored at least 10 goals. I think he scored 14 last year and 10 in the 2 seasons before that. He's only scored 3 this year, and his underlying numbers are always good. Like if you look at the last 4 matches, I think he's top for non-penalty XG. His non-penalty XG per 90 is like 0.41. To put that into perspective, Lacazette is 0.44 this year. So he's not that far behind. It's just one of those things where you watch Burnley and they are rubbish in attack, but when they do get chances, they usually fall to Chris Wood, and he's on penalties as well. So his non-penalty XG is good, and he has penalties too. So, look, I'm not trying to talk anyone into getting Chris Wood, because ultimately, if I was free hitting, he would not be anywhere near my side, and he wouldn't be anywhere near my Game Week 19 plans. But when you're wildcarding, there are some sacrifices that have to be made. Like I said to you on previous videos, this is not a perfect strategy, but it's the one I'm going to go for, right? It allows me to get Cancelo, Stones and De Bruyne. Diaz, look, I still see Diaz as the safest Man City defender, but I think at this point we've got to stop thinking of Stones and Cancelo as rotation risks. Will they miss the odd game? Probably. But at the moment, they're looking like players that are going to start every 7 in 8 games. So missing 1 game in 8 is not the end of the world. The chances of them, I guess, both missing the same game feels a bit unlikely. Like Cancelo at the moment just feels like Pep's best fullback, left or right back. And the way he's going into midfield, like he's on the edge of the 18-yard box so often, he's obviously integral to the way that Pep is playing. And if you go and look at some articles on like The Athletic and stuff, they'll show you that defensively, City have been very good this year, but attacking-wise they haven't, but they are improving. I think Cancelo's a big part of that. So for me, they're not as big a risk as I probably once thought they were. And it's taken me probably a long time to realise that, and I probably should have owned them a bit earlier. But look, you can't be stubborn about things like that. So Triple City is definitely in. I've got no desire to have a different City attacker other than De Bruyne, right? Sterling apparently is not fully fit. We'll see what Pep... we'll see if we get any news before the deadline. Gundogan, Mahrez, Foden, they are not... excuse me, not players that I'm going to have on a wild card. Maybe on a free hit you could take a pump. On a wild card, no way. And Jesus is fine, but if Aguero ever gets back, then he's not really an option either. And Jesus is quite expensive, right? So Triple City have to be in. Fernandes obviously has to be in as well. Because Kane and Son now have Fulham, I kind of want both of them. And they kind of do fit in with my plans moving forward as well, in terms of getting Salah back. Now, Salah is the... Funnily enough, right, Salah is a player that I always want, but he is a sticking point on the wild card, because if you commit to not having Salah for a few game weeks, whether that's up till game week 21, 22, 23, maybe even some people looking not getting him back till game week 25, if you commit to that, it's much easier to build a wild card squad because you're not worried about how you get him back. Right, you can easily have 11 double game week, 11 blank players, and then have close to 13, 14 double game week players. And not have to worry about using a transfer on him, and potentially not even having to take a hit in Game Week 19. So, for example, if I go on transfers here, so my plan for this would be Kane and Son out in Game Week 19. I know they have Sheffield United, right? I get that. They could get points there, but then they've got Liverpool in Game Week 20. So I don't think it's the best move to necessarily keep both of them. I could probably set my team up in a way to keep one, but I don't think, even though they're playing Sheffield United, that's a necessity when there's a double game week. So Antonio will come in. He got through 90 minutes in the FA Cup. My thinking is, and maybe we'll hear from Moyes at some point before the deadline, or game week 19 deadline, is they probably didn't want to play him 90 minutes in the FA Cup, but obviously they didn't get any goals early on, so they had to keep him on the pitch. But it's still good that he got through 90 minutes unscathed. He's got a little bit of a break now until game week 19, so I'm hoping he's okay. And then the idea would be to get Salah back in as well. So Son and Kane out for Antonio and Salah. Now that would give me, in the double game week, now Martinez, Villa, there's no guarantee they get a double game week, but I'll talk about why I want to keep him in a sec. So that'll give me 2 goalkeepers. Stones, Cancelo, Wan-Bissaka and Soufal all have double game weeks. The whole midfield apart from Saka, and then the whole forward line would have double game weeks. So single game week players would just be Saka and Holding. Now, I'd have 2.7 million in the bank after that Kane and Son move. So again, there probably is a way, and I'll have a look at this, and I'll obviously be doing a deadline stream later. I'm going to be looking at this all day. There possibly is a way to just spread those funds right now and not have to worry about taking the hit and having 2.7 million left over. But I think this is possibly the best way. Now, that 2.7 million lets me do Saka to Grealish. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do that for a -8 unless I 100% knew that Grealish was fine and both Villa games were going to happen in Game Week 19. I'm not sure we're going to get that info, in which case I'll probably just play Saka. Now, yes, they're single game week players, Saka and Holding, but they are playing Newcastle at home in Game Week 19. So it's not the worst fixture. I'm not saying that Arsenal are players that I want to hold long term, but it's not the worst time to hold Saka. And I would have that money in the bank to make a bigger move. Either that's to get Grealish in, or maybe it's to upgrade Wood, or whatever it might be. And obviously, like I said earlier, the long-term plan is to take some money out of this team. Right? I don't need that much money spread across my bench. It's because I'm bench boosting. Yes, it's not ideal to have to spend transfers on that, but I think Game Week 19, I'm definitely going to have to make a transfer. But in Game Week 20, hopefully, the idea would be to not make any transfers to then roll, and then I start to look to downgrade. So, for example, David De Gea down to a 4 million keeper. That saves 1.3 million. Potentially look at moving Wan-Bissaka on for a Chelsea defender. If Saka becomes Grealish, right, if we just put this in so you can see it. So if Saka becomes Grealish, then you've got 5 across midfield, and you only have to play 2 up front. So Bamford and Antonio. At some point, again, maybe I get a different striker in. Obviously, I'm leaving myself in a difficult position to get Kane, but I've also got Bruno, De Bruyne and Salah, and at some point you have to make a sacrifice. So if I really need Kane, perhaps one of those three goes. I do have a way to get Son still. So if it gets to a point where I need a Spurs player, Gameweek 23 for example, they're playing West Brom, by then hopefully, and don't get me wrong, this is a lot of transfers obviously to take money out of the bench, but Chris Wood down to like a Brewster, okay, so if we put Brewster in here, these are all options, right? This is just the flexibility of it. I'm not saying I do all these transfers one week after another, but Chris Wood goes to Brewster. You got the 5 across midfield. It does mean playing Souček every week. Whether or not that's a bad idea, we can probably talk about that later on. And Antonio here as well. And let's say David De Gea is down to the 4 million keeper. So we'll just put a 4 million in here. So that gives you 3.3. So Grealish can go to Son with a lot of money left over. Or you keep Grealish in there and you just upgrade Souček to someone else if I wanted to. Or I can upgrade one of the strikers. I don't know. There's options like this. I haven't planned that far forward where I know all my transfers for Game Week 20, 21, 22, 23. But I think the idea of having to take money off the bench is not the end of the world. Like people who wildcard in Game Week 24 and 25 are going to have the same thing. They're going to want to remove money from their bench as they go forward. Now, the only good thing for those wildcarding later is you've got less game weeks to worry about, I guess. But I don't think this is the end of the world. So that would be the idea, that I would basically start taking some money out and upgrade. Either go to Grealish, I've got money to go to Son, whatever it might be. I probably want a Chelsea defender at some point. I think the one kind of, not concern, but area where I need to play around a bit is goalkeepers, right? Because Martinez is someone I want to keep because I've had him since 4.7 million. I don't want to get locked into players because I got value in them, right? I've sold Grealish, had value in him. I've sold Calvert-Lewin, I had value in him. So it's not something I mind doing. But Martinez, he has 2 fixtures. Oh, you can't see it, won't scroll down, but he has 2 fixtures to rearrange already. Newcastle at home, Spurs at home. And also his fixtures from Game Week 20 are really good. So Burnley away, Southampton away, West Ham at home, Arsenal at home, Brighton away, etc. Right? We know the defence is good, and his fixtures are good all the way up until like Game Week 30, right? And because Aston Villa's a good defence, I don't mind holding him. So if I've got 2 goalkeepers, whichever 2 I go for, at one point I'm probably going to downgrade one. So it actually feels better to downgrade David De Gea and keep Martinez. He's the cheaper keeper. He's got 2 double game weeks guaranteed to come up. And I've got money tied up in him. The only issue is, will they play 2 games in Game Week 19? Because if not, I could possibly do better elsewhere. But he is someone I want to hold. But because he's got no game in Game Week 18 anymore, it means you need another goalkeeper next to him that does. So that's having to be David De Gea. The other option, the only real other option is Edison, but I don't want him because he locks me out of double defence and one attacker. Right? That's just a no-go for me. The only other option really is Areola at Fulham. He's got a game in Game Week 18 and a double game week, and he's still got 2 more fixtures to rearrange as well, which is Burnley away and Spurs at home. So he's going to have double game weeks too. The only problem is his Game Week 18 fixture is Spurs away, and then 19 is Chelsea at home and Man United at home. So double game week is rubbish. You're really just expecting save points. Their defence hasn't been bad, to be fair, but they're playing pretty big teams, and I wouldn't expect them to keep a clean sheet. So that's another option. But probably I'm sticking with David De Gea. Other than that, I think I'm pretty settled. Rob Holding is in there as a cheap pick. I could, if I went for Areola, upgrade Holding to... So, for example, I could get another double game week player out of this. So if I went for Areola, just to show you the different permutations, I could upgrade Holding to Maguire. Now, the problem with Maguire is he's on the 4 yellow card threshold. So if he gets one more, he misses the next game. So it is a bit of a risk. Like if he got that in Game Week 18, he'd miss one of the Game Week 19 fixtures. And obviously if he got it in the first game of 19, he'd miss the second one as well. And I think the first one is Liverpool. So if he gets a yellow card against Liverpool, which is entirely possible, then he misses the Fulham game. But it might be worth the risk. Because if he doesn't, that's double United defence and Areola in goal. So it's basically, is Fulham defence with the extra fixture better than Rob Holding, essentially? Because I can still cover the Man United defence with David De Gea. I'm probably going to go the David De Gea route. This doesn't actually leave me with much less money, only 0.1 million less. It doesn't really affect my transfer plans going forward. but I probably will go for the David De Gea, Rob Holding option rather than going for Maguire, right? And also, I feel like this probably saves me a transfer down the line, potentially having a 4.5 million defender here that I don't have to worry about. And like I said, he's playing Newcastle at home in Game Week 19. So I think that's kind of it for the team. I don't know if there's anything I haven't covered. Obviously, I've had to sell Dallas, which I wasn't happy about, but it is what it is. I've kept Souček instead of Rafinha. The reason for that is there's a chance that Leeds versus Southampton gets moved out of Game Week 19 to be rearranged later down the line. And because Southampton and Leeds don't have European matches, there's no rush to get it rearranged. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be in Game Week 18 or 19. I mean, it's not going to be in Game Week 18 at this point, right? It's too late to rearrange. But the reason for that is Southampton versus Shrewsbury in the FA Cup hasn't been played, and they're trying to get that played if they can. So there is a chance, and Leeds are apparently up for it, that their game versus Southampton would be moved from Game Week 19. And if that happens, Leeds are not going to blank. They still play Brighton, but they only have one game. So suddenly, them as double game week options would not be a thing. So is again one of the problems with wildcarding is if they do end up having a double game week, then I'm going to regret not having at least 2 attackers with Rafinha, and I could change that before the deadline. But I think Souček is a good compromise playing Burnley at home and West Brom at home. So that is the wild card. I think the biggest changes to this team will be, what do I do with Son and Kane? Do I try and get away with not having them for Game Week 18? I could have Rashford, for example, instead of Son if I get rid of one of my Man United defenders. And what do I do with the goalkeepers? Like, I could just get rid of Martinez. Another option is to have Mendy. So have Mendy and Areola. So I've got cover for 18 and Areola, and then I've got double game week for Chelsea. And obviously Mendy is cheaper than David De Gea, but it means dropping Martinez, and I feel like he is a goalkeeper that I'm going to want longer term. So it means spending a bit on goalkeepers right now, but ultimately the plan will be to downgrade David De Gea. Kevin De Bruyne, 100% my captain this week. Pretty much 100% my captain in Game Week 19 as well. I'm pretty happy with that team. Look, there's still a chance that I hit the free hit button instead of the wild card, but I don't think that's likely to happen. So, let me know if I'm crazy in the comments below, and let me know what you think of this team. I'm open to suggestions, right? I'm not saying this is the perfect team where I've got it absolutely nailed, but you have to remember, I'm trying to get out at least 10, hopefully 11 Game Week 18 players, and then as many double Game Week players that are decent as I can in Game Week 19. So there we go, that's it. The wild card is going to be active, I think, by the end of the day. Obviously, I'll have a deadline stream at 3:30 today, ahead of the deadline, if you want to come and check out what the final team looks like, get some questions answered and that kind of stuff. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, hit subscribe if you're new around here as well. And just a quick shout out to everyone that signed up on patreon.com/letstalkfpl. If you do sign up, obviously you go up on the Legends wall, so thank you to everyone that's already signed up. We're up and over 200 Patreons at this point, and a big shout out to Joe Q, who has signed up since the last video as well. Obviously there's like Slack access to the community, there's WhatsApp access, early team reveals, loads of good stuff over there. Link in the description if you want to check that out. I'll leave it there. I'll go and get this uploaded as quickly as I can before the deadline, and I'll catch you later on.